Talk about tonight there, Haley?
Yeah, thanks, Dr. Curnew. So we're going to walk you through basically mastering movement or actually creating a guide for your exercise planning routine because we know it's a hard thing to kind of get into the planning process. So we're going to try and help you out there by giving you some tips and tricks and a little bit more information about why exercise is important. So basically, if you move to the next slide, this presentation is going to cover 6 different things. So we're going to just have a little bit of an introduction about exercise requirements, and then we're going to go into the importance of an exercise routine, working through some components of a workout, creating an exercise plan, and then some tools you can actually use for exercise planning to make it a bit easier. And then we're going to conclude with some kind of clinic focused stuff. So let's get into our introduction here. So first, let's start out with how much exercise is actually recommended. So it's recommended that adults, so around 19 to 64 years, complete at least 150 minutes of moderate or 75 minutes of vigorous aerobic exercise, which is the things that make you breathe a lot. So things like running, biking, and then 2 days of strength training each week. So we really want to make sure we're hitting those requirements. And that's what our presentation is going to kind of outline here. But it's really important when you are kind of looking at this is just to consult your cardiologist or your family doctor kind of about what ratio is best for you, especially if you're coming off of an operation or maybe you were sick. Just figuring out how to kind of get started is the most important part, and they're here to help you. But really, it's important that we want to prioritize our health. Start where you're at rather than taking on too much and possibly getting injured, and then also doing what's right for you. So why exactly should we exercise?
If you
Effective.
backtrack one pack, you're saying go back a slide there. You're saying 19 to 64. So before you're 19, you should do, I guess, at least an hour a day. And over 64, you ready to die or something? What's this 64 business there?
I think this was just the requirement that a volunteer have found, but I think from my suggestion, I would say if you can keep up with that level of activity when you were before 64, keep up with it. But maybe it's kind of just making sure when you do get into that older stage, you're not kind of pushing yourself too hard because we do get a little bit weak, but we still want you to contribute to that exercise. So maybe instead of doing 150 minutes of vigorous activity, try to do that moderate activity or vice versa.
Okay. I would argue as we get older, we start to lose muscle mass. And so to me, one of the biggest predictors of longevity is your VO2 max, how fit you are, how much muscle mass you are. And as you get older, that 64-year-old, I'm 64 and I'm just getting started. And I'm doing more exercise than before, including resistance training and, bands, weights, push-ups. And I think it's more important as you get older. So I would argue is that when you stop exercising, you're getting closer to the nursing home, and your quality of life is getting worse. So I think people age 64 actually need it more than younger people because that's when you're most susceptible to losing activity there. And yeah, so to me, you gotta make sure it's safe to exercise, but the day you stop exercising is the day you get weaker. It's time to throw in the towel. So I'm going to encourage you to exercise for as long as you can. Keep telling us more.
Yeah, and that's why it's so important to consult your cardiologist and your family doctor, because again, that's just a recommendation we found from online, but your doctors know best. So that's the really important key kind of component there. So listen to Dr. Curnew, but getting back into the exercise benefits. So exercise has a lot of physical and mental benefits that we're going to get into a little bit later as well. But it also is really helpful for people with heart disease or people who want healthy cardiac because it has some physical benefits like reducing risk of heart attack, reducing risk of coronary heart disease, actually strengthening the heart muscle, and then also some mental benefits as well. So reduced incidence of depression and a better quality of life, which is really overall important because we want to make sure we're living the happiest, healthiest lives we can. So when we actually are getting into exercise, and we really want to make sure we're staying motivated, because in order for you to get the visible benefits from exercise, that motivation and persistence in exercising needs to happen. So there are different kind of reasons to exercise, and all are valid. So find out what motivates you to do it. So that could be wanting to do a marathon. That could be wanting to be able to play with your grandkids. That could be wanting to swim at a swimming competition. Anything that kind of motivates you and gets you to achieve that goal is really important, because again, going back to these physical benefits, we can increase our quality of life, improve our cardiac health, and make everyday tasks a lot easier. So maybe walking up the stairs might be hard for you. Try exercising and working that into your routine. And now maybe when you get up those stairs, you might not be as short of breath. And you also will increase your strength, which will be better in the future when you're needing to have that strength, because we do lose a little bit of balance, but we really want to make sure we maintain as much strength and balance as we can. So Dr. Curnew did kind of mention this in his spiel about the requirements for exercise, but we're going to talk just a little bit more about the concept of METs. So a MET is a ratio for your working metabolic rate relative to your resting metabolic rate. So what that means basically is when you're doing exercise versus when you're not doing exercise, or just sitting or laying down. So the purpose of a MET is really that it can help describe the intensity of an exercise. So when you look at these requirements here, light activities would be less than 3 METs. So as you can see in the little chart we have there, at rest or sitting still, you're only exuding 1 MET. Moderate activity would be between the 3 and 6 METs, and vigorous activity would be over 6 METs. What we really want to emphasize here is that if you do less than 5 METs, you'll be at risk of needing a nursing home or rehabilitation center if you ever get sick, because fitness is really the key to kind of help keeping us out of those nursing homes. So with that in mind, the goal we kind of want you to keep in mind when you are exercising is trying to achieve that 9 to 12 METs. And as you can see from the chart here, we've kind of given some examples. So brisk walking is only at 6.5 METs, so that won't be enough to get to that 9 to 12. But if you're biking, it's about 8, and circuit training about 8. If you kind of increase that intensity a bit, you can get to that 9, or things like running or playing a soccer game, kind of sports that keep you, or activities that keep you going for a long period of time and are that vigorous standard, will get you to that 9 to 12 METs and keep you healthy and strong. Specifically, one study we wanted to highlight actually found that participants, when they completed a stress test, those in the lowest fitness group only had fitness levels of about 7.9 METs. So again, aiming for that 9 to 12 will really help us stay healthier, because we'll have a less of a risk of all-cause mortality and a greater risk of cardiovascular health, a lesser risk of cardiovascular heart disease. And so it's really important that we are aiming for that 9 to 12 METs. And Dr. Curnew, I don't know if you wanted to add anything else about the METs, because I know that's something you're really keen on.
Yeah, so to me is that look, I'm an old fart. I can do 20 METs. So if I can do it, then you can do it. So that's my estimated METs. So and basically, you bring up a very good point, is that you need about 5 to 6 METs just to live. That's to do your grocery shopping. And if you get sick, within 2 weeks, you lost 25% of your output. And so you won't be able to go home. You might have to go to, like you mentioned, cardiac or some sort of rehabilitation program, or actually go to a nursing home. And is that, so I can't stress this enough, is that there's 3 forms of activity. One is just walking, and then there's running or biking, and then there's resistance training. They're all really important. One of the things that I'm reading about longevity studies, people with the highest VO2 max or the highest METs have 4 times less mortality, or 4 times more likely to live, compared to people at the lowest level of physical fitness. So I know it's hard work, but it's also fun. Look, this morning I was at uh, lifting weights, doing stretches and doing weight stuff with a group of people between 6 and 7 in the morning. And I think I use a personal trainer, and some people, I go to something called Dundas Physio, and they've been great. I've been celebrating. I went from 1 chin up to 4 chin ups. So in the past, I was doing band assisted stuff. And that's really important for fall prevention. Look, dementia's in my family, falling's in my family. I'm not as steady as I used to be, so I'm working at that. And so I'm really taking a proactive step. I don't understand why uh, less than 25% of Canadians are doing this. And especially as you get older, you need to think about that resistance training, that bands, those push-ups, those weights. Um, I made a mistake for 20 years. I hope you don't make the same mistake and you get onto this over here. So one of the questions is, how many Mets can you do? You should know that. And if you're at 5 to 6, you're just at the brink of being close to the nursing home. And that's important. I want to be far from the nursing home. And so I'm working at it, and so should you. And but tell us more.
Yeah, so your point, Dr. Curnew, transitioned well into the next slide here, which is talking a little bit about VO2 max. So when we say VO2 max, we really mean the amount of oxygen you breathe in while you're exercising as hard as you can. And it's a really good predictor of your physical health. And basically, if the higher your VO2 max actually is, the more physically healthy you are. So knowing your VO2 max can actually help measure your physical fitness and help you track your health improvements. So as you can see in this chart we've put here, the first column is a percentile ranking of VO2 max. And the second column is a 10-year survivor rate. And the third column here is a risk of death from any cause. So as you can see, the people who are higher to the top or closer to that purple have a higher survival rate and a much lower risk of death than of any cause. So what we really want to do is try to improve our VO2 max, and we can do that through two different methods. First is high intensity training. So an example of that would be HIIT training. That's really making sure your heart is pumping, your body is moving, and you're breathing a lot. So those exercises you're going to be doing for not as long of a time because it does exert a lot of energy. However, an alternative to high intensity training to also improve your VO2 max is low intensity training. But the important thing to note about this is that you're going to be doing it for longer periods of time. So what that could entail is running, biking, or rowing. But again, if you're only doing 15 minutes of HIIT because that's what's going to take you, you're going to need probably about an hour of that low intensity to get to that same improvement of your VO2 max. But again, it goes back to whatever exercise works best for you. So thinking about exercise, we're going to go into our lovely little exercise breaks we put into these webinars. So we're going to first start off with some high knee marches, and we have both a beginner example and an advanced example here, but we're going to try and do it so we do 10 on each leg. And I'm usually kind of bad at counting these, so we're going to count them out together, but I'm going to do the advanced version. And so we're going to do again 10 on each side. So you're going to bring your arms down and your knee up. So that's one on the other, 2, 3, 4, and really make sure your posture is pretty well here. 5, and you can even move a lot faster, but I'm just going to go slow. And that's 7, 8, 9, 10. Perfect. So that's our first little exercise break, and we'll have those after every section tonight. But moving on into now the importance of an exercise routine. So when we talk about exercise routines, one of the most important things you have to remember is what's exercise doing for your body? A good way to look at it is looking at your body composition. So body composition is basically the percentage of fat, bone, and muscle in your body. It really helps you identify your level of health. And it's important to note that it is different from BMI. It is different from BMI because it takes into consideration and differentiates fat and muscle. So someone who is really strong and muscular might actually have a high BMI, but when you look to their body composition, they're going to have a lower fat percentage than another person with maybe the same BMI, but with higher fat percentage. So when we look at this diagram here that I wanted to show you, the two things that we can really work on and increase and decrease is our muscle and our fat. So when we're looking at compositions, we're talking about percentages. So when we talk about percentages, what happens is if we increase one percentage, we're going to retroactively decrease another percentage. So in this instance, muscle and fat are pretty well kind of negatively related to each other. So what that means is that we want to increase our muscle mass in order to decrease our fat. Because if we're increasing our muscle mass, our muscle percentage, we're going to have more muscle and that's going to take up less of our fat. And when you have more muscle, that actually decreases your risk of chronic diseases and then overall mortality as well. And to get that increased muscle mass and maintain it, which is also important because if you actually work out a whole bunch, gain that muscle, and then don't sustain that muscle, it's going to result and turn into fat, which is then going to kind of wreck that human body composition percentage that you work so hard to achieve. So it's really important that you remain consistent with your workout routine. And a great way to kind of help you keep track of your body composition is using apps. So one that Dr. Curnew wanted me to highlight here is a thing called Fit Index. And that really helps you keep track of your body composition. And it actually you can get like a scale that connects to your app so that you can weigh yourself, and that will technology and stuff, things I don't know about, but that will actually track your body fat percentage and your muscle mass and your weight, everything like that, so that you can kind of track your changes and see how you're working to increase that muscle mass and decrease that fat. And Dr. Kern, I don't know if there's anything else you wanted to mention about that app or anything else there.
Yeah, so we're using this one right now, but I understand there's a better one that we're looking at. The gold standard is called a DEXA scan, which is not something that's readily available. It looks at body composition. So one of the things what I like about the Fit Index is that I'm looking at one of the things is that I have like we mentioned body mass index. So my right now this morning I weigh myself 176 pounds, and I weigh myself pretty well, I'd say 5 days a week, and a little excessive about that. I'm trying to get down to less than 170 pounds. My body mass index is 25. What I want to do is get between 20 and 25, a little bit less than that. Um, I'm looking at um, one thing they have something called metabolic age, and my metabolic age is 62. I'm 64. I want to be less than that, so I'm gonna work harder on that. I look at my body fat, 22%, and I have a little bit more too much subcutaneous fat. So I'm gonna work on that over here. Look at my belly. I won't show that off right now. Is that I don't want to scare anybody. But and I'm trying to get my muscle mass up. I'm getting so I'm really working at this. I find this to help motivate myself to do that. So my hope is to be, about 6 pounds lighter at least, maybe more, but also more muscle mass and less fat mass. As you know, as you age, um, you lose muscle and you gain fat. And one of the things is that my basic caloric requirement is over 1,700 calories, and if I gain more muscle, I can eat more and exercise more. So I spend probably about 10 hours a week of exercise, from hockey, squash, weightlifting, runnings, um, walking, stairs, did the Shit Oaks Stones last week again. I finished last oh, by the way, I finished third in my age group for a half a marathon in Toronto. The only reason I finished third was my wife put me in the wrong age group. She put me over the age of 80 years of age. So, but in my age group, I'm towards the bottom. So I'm going to keep plugging away at this. And so there you go. I think my wife was telling me a story there. I need to get into better shape. And so I'm still working at that. So if I can do it, you can do it too as well. So and I really enjoy body composition. And we're working with Dr. Tanopowski about how to improve body composition as well. So I think that's really important to know that one of the predictors of how long you're going to live is how much muscle mass you have. And I need to keep working on that and get better at that. So I think it's even more important after the age of 64 years of age. And as you know, starting in your 30s and 40s, you start to lose muscle mass. And I lost a lot of muscle mass. Now I'm trying to get that back. And half your VO2 max is determined by your genes, half is by the environment. So I'm working hard and having fun doing that too as well. So if I can do it, you do it. And please do it because there's dementia in my family, there's falls in my family, and I want to be as active and enjoy life. You mentioned being with your grandkids. I want to be able to pick up grandchildren when I have them. I want to be able to be active and I want to go on. Many of us lose the ability to go on vacations after the age of 71 years of age. And I don't want to lose that. I want to keep that. I want to still be able to work in the clinic and die on the job at the age of 100 or something. I don't know, but I actually calculate my longevity, and by projection, I'm supposed to die at 74. I don't think I'm going to die at 74, but that's the calculation. So I'm going to really work hard at this, and enjoy my time left and try to be productive as much as I can and make a difference. So body composition, VO2 max, how many METs you can do, how much fat you have, and how much muscle. I don't have enough muscle and too much fat right now. So I'm going to keep working on that. And if I'm going to do it, you should do it too as well. Anything else that you want to say about that, Haley, or anybody else? I think it's but we can argue whether or not this is the right calculator or not, but it's just one of many available. This one got a good review from Google, but we're going to do a more scientific review as time goes on. And I've really enjoyed this scale. And I think we have other scales to talk about in the future. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Dr. Curnew. One other thing I just wanted to mention about body composition that I forgot to mention before is that there is a difference between males and females with their body weight just genetically. So females will have just slightly higher fat than males just because that is kind of how we are able to produce children, but that's just another important note. So if you're a woman comparing to a man, that's just something to keep in mind, is that you are going to be different, but that just comes down to genetics. But that doesn't mean you shouldn't try and decrease as much as you can in a healthy manner. So Dr. Curnew mentioned a lot of really important kind of benefits to exercise, but we're just going to mention a few others that he hadn't. But the first one we wanted to just emphasize is that headaches happen all the time. I know I got pretty bad headaches when I was in school. And what I found really helped was exercising. And I found that decreased it. And the study backed that up here, where they found that moderate vigorous activity at least 3 times per week reduce the days of headaches per month by about 1.5. So if you get a lot of migraines, a lot of headaches often, exercise and building that routine is could be a really important way for you to decrease that a bit. And then another important component that we've touched on a lot in other webinars, but it's important to bring up, is depression. So a randomized control trial actually found that regular exercise was as effective as antidepressant treatments for preventative of depressive symptomology. So that shows that exercise can actually bring you those same benefits rather than just taking medication to get that too. We also have Alzheimer's disease as well. So one study found that both aerobic exercise routines and regular stretching are protective against the rate of decline in mental cognition associated with older age. So really making sure you're keeping up with their stretching, keeping up with your exercise, so you're keeping your mind and mental cognition sharp into older age. And last but not least, we have lower back pain, where a study found that the effects of strength routines, stretching routines, and no exercise in patients with lower back pain. They compared all those factors and found that both strength and stretch were associated with improved symptoms. So if you do really struggle with back pain, specifically lower back pain, working in stretches daily or finding these strength routines that help with your back without straining it, it's important to also do the exercise properly so you're not straining your back, but working those into your lifestyle can actually help improve those symptoms and make you kind of stronger and have that stronger back and improve those symptoms. So when we have been talking about an exercise routine, there also been kind of parts that we want you to keep in mind, which we have kind of outlined on the next slide here.
Actually,
So
before you go back,
yeah.
so one of the things that it's interesting is that people are taking fish oils, vitamins, spending billions of dollars. And so there's a recent trial called Cosmo that looked at dark chocolate. It didn't prevent Alzheimer's disease. And there's a trial with vitamins that showed a very minimal benefit. I think the best thing to prevent Alzheimer's disease in this circumstance, or one thing, is that you buy vitamins, you take it for a 2-kilometer walk, then you take it. That would be a great way of preventing Alzheimer's disease. In fact, for chronic pain, there's more and more data that exercise, strengthening the ligaments and getting better posture is really important for chronic pain. So, people saying is that we're using all these narcotics and different pain medications and antidepressants. I think you shouldn't use them, but these strategies are extremely effective. So you can have better headaches, less depression, less Alzheimer's, less chronic pain, feeling better, and live longer out of the nursing home. This is just from exercise. Wow, what a powerful tool that is. And less than 25% of people are doing this. When it comes to, resistance or bands or weights, I think it's probably less than 5% are doing that. I'm not sure the exact number, but and I've been guilty. I'm no longer guilty of that. I hope you are changing that before it's too late. Next slide, please. And rejoice your successes, and doing a chin up or pull up is an accomplishment for me now. I'm doing a few more, and we're going to go from there. Keep going, keep moving forwards, everybody. I'm enjoying it too. You should do as well.
Yeah. So how can you actually find a motivation to exercise regularly? Well, a good exercise routine can actually help you achieve your goals. So although exercise routines will look different for each person, there are four main things to kind of keep in mind when we are building that exercise routine. The first thing we want to keep in mind is balance. So you should aim to have a good mix of different kinds of intensities of exercise and types of exercise each week. So for me, when I was back at Western studying there, I was able to have squash once a week, switch it up for soccer again, and then also go to the gym there, which was a really good way to kind of mix in different types of exercise and work my body in different ways. The second thing here is repetition. So exercise routines should be a routine, and having a familiar framework like warming up the same way or cycling through a main set of exercises can actually make it easier for you to get started because you know what you're doing and you don't really have to think about what you're doing next. Additionally, when you are incorporating strength training, which we'll talk a little bit about later, having that repetition will actually help you build that muscle that you're wanting to see. And kind of in version to that, we also have variety. So you do want to make sure that you also are not getting bored with the routines you're doing. So if you are feeling like your routine is boring you, just incorporate a different exercise that might be similar or completely different. And that's a really good way to keep things fun and interesting. And then also, last but certainly not least, it's really important that you remain accountable. So as with any routine, we want to make it a habit if it's positive. So the most important thing you can do is actually stick with it. And by gradually building up regular exercise patterns, each workout or exercise session will actually become easier than the last. So one kind of tip I have about this that I find useful when starting a routine is to start small if you're starting just right off the bat. So if you haven't exercised in years and years and years and you want to start small and work your way up. Once you've gotten started, you actually begin to add more nuanced things into your routine. You're actually going to build a larger repertoire of different exercises and habits that you can take on and use throughout your week. And that's ultimately aiming to have exercise as a regular part of your life and making it a more automatic thing that you crave to do and want to do rather than this challenging and daunting chore that it may seem like. So again, we're going to have our little exercise break here. This was supposed to say exercise 3, maybe it's 1, I believe. I don't remember, but this is the second exercise we're going to do, which is a forward lunge. So if you do have a little bit of trouble with balance, you can get like a chair or a table to kind of rest your hand on. But to do a forward lunge, you're basically going to stick your leg out in front of you and bend so that your knee is coming kind of towards your toe and you're lunging forward there. And you want to try and keep your hands on your hips or on something to steady yourself. And you're going to then step back. And then we're going to do 10 on each side. So that was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So that's the last one on this side. So we're going to switch and put the other leg in front. And a really good way to kind of maintain balance too is to pick a spot on the wall that you want to stare at the whole time. That helps me a lot. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and then the last one, 10. Awesome. Great job, everyone. So a way to kind of increase intensity on that exercise is to actually do split lunges, where you do like a little jump between your lunges, but that's a bit challenging to do at this point in time. So we're going to move on to the components of a workout here. So let's talk about what an actual workout might entail. So the first thing, they really kind of depend on an individual person's fitness goal, where workout routines will look different depending on who you are. There is kind of an ideal setup that we do incorporate for the exercise routine that has 4 main components. So the first one is the warm-up, and that's really just trying to increase your blood circulation and temperature of your muscles to prepare your body for movements. And this is also beneficial to prevent injuries, and it also lowers muscle soreness in the end. So if you find that maybe you get right on the treadmill right away at the gym and your joints get really sore, a really important thing to do first is maybe take a walk around a track or do some stretches first. That warm up will help alleviate pain off your joints and get you ready to do that exercise. So the second component of exercise is resistance training, aka strength training. And really the importance of this component of exercise is because it helps to increase metabolism, and it helps you make your bones and muscles stronger, which will protect your joints, and also decreases body fat percentage and lowers your risk of cardiovascular disease. And it also improves your mental health. So this is really where you're going to incorporate those weights that Dr. Curnew was talking about, or the resistance bands, as they're really the key components of how we're going to build that muscle mass. So the third component of a workout routine is your cardiovascular exercise. So this involves things like running, walking, skipping, biking, playing squash, playing soccer, anything of that sort, going on the treadmill. And this really kind of helps improve functions of the respiratory system. So things like your heart and your lungs. And it also helps boost oxygen flow in the blood. And with constant practice, it also improves endurance. So a really good way to kind of start out is seeing how long you can run on the treadmill for, and then try and increase that every time, as that's going to make you more kind of increase your endurance, and you'll ultimately lead to a longer run in the end. And last but certainly not least is your cool down. So cool downs really help to lower blood pressure and heart rate to like those pre-exercise levels, and it also allows you to control your blood flow. An important part about cool down too is that you're not just immediately stopping from going from like a really intense run to just doing nothing. That cool down allows your muscles to get comfortable, and it will also help prevent other injuries. So it can be things like stretching your body out. We do have a lot of videos on our YouTube channel that have cool downs as well as warm-ups to if you need some ideas to get those started, but those are kind of the main components of a workout routine. So when we did talk about different kind of exercises there, I did a little bit of a brief overview, but we wanted to go into a little bit more detail about different types of exercises. So for flexibility, that involves things like stretching. So we have dynamic and static stretching. So dynamic stretching happens through controlled and active movements, and the goal is really to move your muscles and joints. So it's a full range of motion to increase your muscle temperature. So that's often included in warm-ups to kind of prepare the body for movement. So if you ever have watched like a sports game and saw people warm up and they're moving when they're stretching, those are dynamic stretches. So things like sumo squats are a really popular one, butt kicks, high knees, things like that. That's really going to help get your muscles warm while also stretching out. stretching them out a bit. The second stretching or flexibility exercise you can do is static stretching, and that involves gently stretching your muscles so it's the maximum range of motion and holding the position for about 20 to 45 seconds. So often this is included in cool downs to actually prevent injuries and make sure that you are not just abruptly again stopping your muscles there, but allowing them to have that stretch out and feel better. And that's going to actually prevent you from feeling that soreness after workouts. So now moving on to strength training, we do have two kind of different options here. You can use body weight exercises, which can also incorporate bands to make them a little bit more challenging. And these are things like push-ups, pull-ups, squats, lunges, and planks. So each work a different component of your body, but if you do need or want more examples, there are so many online that you can look up. Just look up body weight exercises. And then we also have some examples of exercises using weights here. So we have bench presses, kettlebell swings, deadlifts. We can also do squats, again, with some things, and you can incorporate weights into a lot of those body weight exercises as well. And last but not least, we have cardio here. And cardio can involve numerous things, but really it's getting that heart pumping and getting you breathing heavy. So what that can include is jumping rope, dancing, swimming, walking and running, going on the stairs or the Stairmaster, boxing, playing an organized sport like soccer or squash, cycling or hiking. All these different types of exercises are really important to keep in your routine because it allows your body to move in different ways, and it also works different parts of your body, so you're getting the whole benefit rather than just singling out one thing. That kind of moves on into when we are actually planning our exercising, we want to make sure that we're keeping in mind the FIT principle. So when I say the FIT principle, what this actually means is it includes frequency, intensity, time, and type. So when we look at each one, frequency means how often do you plan to work out every day, every week. So that's setting that goal of like, how often do I want to work out? So do I want to set a goal for 2 right off the bat, or do I want to go to 3? How can I increase it as I go on? Time is how long each workout component will actually be. So what that could entail is, okay, how long do I want to spend doing cardio, doing my warm up, doing my cool down, or doing my strength training? And then that goes into the type. What types of workouts will you incorporate to exercise your target areas? So a really good example is, let's say you want to build your muscles in your legs. You want to incorporate more leg focused exercises like squats, glute bridges, lunges, things like that. And finally, we have intensity. Sorry, I mixed up intensity and type, but it's okay. Is how challenging do you want your exercises to actually be? So a really important component that we wanted to mention is the heart rate calculation. So what your heart rate calculation means is that if you take 220 minus your age, that's approximately how high your max heart rate would be. And that's kind of what you want to hit if you're getting into that high intensity exercise. And that's basically that level we want to try to achieve. So incorporating these FIT principles and thinking about these questions when we're building our exercise routine can help make sure that we're actually planning it out in a way that we can be successful. And that kind of ends that section there. So we're going into our next exercise, which is squats. So we're just going to do some body weight squats here, or you can make it a little bit more challenging yourself by holding a water bottle or getting some weights. But when we're doing squats, we want to make sure, or you can make it a little bit easier by using a chair and squatting down behind it. But we want to make sure our legs are at least shoulder width apart. If you go a little bit wider, we're going to be working more of our glutes. But if you go a little bit closer to shoulder width, you're going to be working more of your legs. And you're going to just bend back like you're going to sit in the chair until your butt is a little bit down and your knees are above your toes. And then you're going to go up. So that's 1. And we're going to do 10. 2. And it's really important when you're doing this to go slow so you can feel kind of that stretch and feel your muscles working. Because if you go fast, it's going to be more of a cardio exercise rather than a strength one. I think around 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Awesome. So now we're going to move on to actually how to create the exercise plan, which Natalie will take from here.
Yeah, so we've got a lot of good information, great information so far about important factors for exercising and how to build it into our lifestyle. But now we're going to go through how we can actually like start with creating a plan and hopefully keep ourselves accountable for doing that. So the first thing is you have to consider your fitness goals. So depending on those goals, your exercise plan might change. So something that we commonly think about is losing weight, but some people might have a goal to build muscle or run a marathon. And so having those clear goals can help you to not only gauge your progress, but also stay motivated and guide the types of exercises that you're doing. So for example, if you do want to run a marathon, then incorporating running throughout the week can help you work your way up to that goal. So the second thing is we want to create a balanced routine. So Haley talked about balance previously in the webinar, but something that we want to keep in mind is that we want to get at least 150 minutes of moderate aerobic activity or 75 minutes of vigorous aerobic activity a week, or we can combine both. And also, if we want to have even greater health benefits and to assist with weight loss, if that is your goal, then at least 300 minutes per week is recommended. But keeping in mind the important factor of balance, we want to spread this out throughout the week. So you can consider your weekly schedule into creating your routine. So for example, if you have a day at work that's super busy and you know you're going to be tired, then maybe you can consider that as a rest day, which we'll talk about in our next point, and then spread out exercise throughout the other days. Or maybe during that busy day, you can incorporate smaller walks so that you can still remain active, but keep in mind that it is one of your busier days. And so the next point is allowing time for recovery. So it's important that as much as we are working to get exercise in every day, we also plan time between our sessions so that your body can rest and recover so that it can get stronger. Because in that rest time, your muscles are like, that's the time that it takes for your muscles to actually get stronger and to rebuild those tears in the muscle fibers. So it's just as important for you to rest and not overwork yourself, also to prevent injuries. So make sure that you are challenging yourself, but also allowing yourself days of the week, or maybe spreading out like your sessions and planning it according to your schedule so that you do have some time to rest and you're not overworking yourself. And the last thing is put it on paper. This is a really important thing because it helps to keep us accountable. It can also really help with guiding us. So Haley mentioned before, but sticking with a routine and knowing the exercises that you're going to do. If you don't know, if you want to like plan from the beginning of the week, this is what I'm going to do each day, it can really help take the brain work out of it, so that when you start your week, you know exactly what you're going to do, and you don't have to run into the problem of not knowing what you're going to do and then wasting time on that and then saying, oh, I don't have time anymore, and then skipping out on it. So if you want to plan that out in advance and you know that that might work for you, then it's something that you can take the initiative to do.
I like that idea, Natalie, to keep yourself goals and write things down, and I find that helpful. What I remember what I learned many years ago, if you want to prevent a heart attack, 30 minutes of activity, mostly aerobic, is what we preached in the past. And if you wanted to lose weight, 60 to 90 minutes of activity most days. Let me repeat that. What I first started off with is 30 minutes of aerobic activity most days can decrease the chance of a heart attack by 25%. But to get the weight off and keep the weight off, it's 60 to 90 minutes of activity most days. Diet's very important for weight loss, and activity is very important to keep the weight off. Now, one thing that I didn't incorporate well in the past is resistance training and weight training. And I hear this over and over again, doing everything I can to lose weight, I can't lose weight. Well, muscle burns a lot more energy compared to fat. And so if as you get older, your basic metabolic rate goes down, and it goes down to 1,200 calories per day for most people over the age of 65 or so. Um, my basic metabolic rate is calculated at 1775. So that gives me an extra 500 calories to play with. Plus, I'm doing activity of a couple thousand calories, maybe an extra 1,000 calories most days or so. So I can actually do more, so I can eat more. Um, so if you run the Tour de France, you can't eat enough to keep the weight on. But for most of us, it's easy and to 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 not lose weight. So I think this is actually very important. So I like this idea about writing things down, if that's important to you. Haley, I said be accountable. I need to be accountable to other people and also to other people around there. So you said you play squash. I play squash too. And if I don't show up, holy cow, is it I'm going to hear about it. I'm going to feel like a big schmuck. And I have these classes that, from 6 to 7 a.m. in the morning time. And I still want to go, rock climbing with my son. I can't keep up with him, but at least he's kind enough to come down to my level every once in a while, let me climb with him. So I'm really quite impressed. And so please think about how this incorporates into your life. And I think by doing these things, I give myself a better fighting chance of being able to be productive, enjoy life, less depression, less back pain, less headaches, and less Alzheimer's disease or delaying these sorts of things. So thank you for sharing that. Tell us more.
Yeah, so the point about the importance of strength and resistance transitions really well into our next slide. So progressive overload. We did, Haley touched on it a little bit when we mentioned the importance of repetition, but I'll explain it to you and hopefully it'll be more clear. So progressive overload is basically a gradual increase in the intensity of workouts. And this is important to avoid any plateaus in like building muscle, losing weight, gaining strength. So the goal is that you're like progressive overload helps to make sure that your workouts are continually effective and challenging. So you don't ever reach a point where you're just repeating the same thing over and over again and it's no longer challenging you. And a really good quote that I like to keep in mind, and not just for exercise, but for all areas of your life. If it doesn't challenge you, it doesn't change you. So if you're not feeling anything from your workouts, then you're not going to get anything out of it. So it's important to keep your goals in mind as well, so that it can help motivate you to go through those challenges so that you can change and reach those goals. And so progressive overload does help you to build strength, but also it can help with endurance, increasing your range of motion and other fitness goals that you might have. So the important thing is, especially if you're a beginner, to start off like comfortably and cautiously, and progress slowly. So when you're designing a fitness plan, it's important to incorporate strength training. It's really important for your bones, your muscle mass, all areas of your life. And so we kind of want to balance all major muscle groups and work on all major muscle groups at least 2 times a week. So you can don't just focus on, even if you want to maybe strengthen your like muscles in your legs, it's important to also do upper body and core training and everything, because our body all works together. So it's important to work your whole body. And so what you can do is start with a single set of each exercise until your muscles tire. And so in our exercise breaks, we usually do 10 reps. You can range between like 8 to 15 repetitions. And what you can do is start with no equipment at all. So with the example of squats, which we just did, you could, even if it's hard to do it with no equipment, you can start with a chair, for example, then progress to off the chair, then maybe add a band, then maybe add a 2-pound weight, and then slowly increase until and just keep going. And what you can do is like really be honest with yourself about, am I ready to increase? Is it starting to get easy? And also make sure that your form is not being compromised. So don't just, because of like, I don't know, sometimes we let our egos get in the way, and so we want to keep going higher in weight, but if our form is compromised, then we risk getting injured. So just also keep that in mind and be honest with yourself about where you're at and how you can improve.
That's actually kind of important to think about these things. As we get older, we injure ourselves, potentially more harder to recovery. Now, what's interesting is that I started this program in April and I am getting stronger, but I still have a long ways to go. So right now is I'm not doing this by myself. I'm doing this with a person who's an expert physiotherapist who knows what they're doing. And right now what we're doing is 4 repetitions to exhaustion. So I can't till failure. And so we're trying to figure that out because if you put a lot of load on your muscle, it will build faster. It will make the muscle stronger and bigger. I'm not looking for big muscles. In fact, the people who live the longest are not the big bodybuilders. The people who have strong muscles with a good composition between strengths and flexibility and strong muscles. So right now, it's kind of interesting is that so we're loading our muscles quite a bit, and we're doing things 5, 4, 3, and 2 repetitions. We do about 4 sets, and really pushing it. And really is that um, it's that combination. So start off with 8 to 15 to that should be enough. Then you can't do any more, and then within the right environment, you might want to try even more overload. So it's kind of interesting. I have to do 4 reps to total failure. I can't do anymore. So when I'm bench pressing today, is that he's there on top of me when I'm failing. He's helping me because I don't want to drop those weights on my chest. And so but I would never do this on my own. And you mentioned body position, where to put your hands, your whatever. It's been a tremendous learning experience for myself. And if I tried to do this without someone who knew what they're doing, I think I would have hurt myself, or I wouldn't have the confidence to do this and progress to this degree. Now, I still have a long ways to go, but I'm really enjoying the journey. And I hope everybody takes the time to make 2024 or whatever year you want to be a year of getting stronger muscles. And what I heard from one of these gurus on physical fitness, what he does is he turns on the coffee machine in the morning. While his coffee's making, he does his push-ups every morning. I thought that was kind of neat. So just think about what regiment you want to do. Tell us more.
Okay, so now we'll talk about how to maintain your exercise plan. And so make it a part of your daily life. And so the first point is building activity into your daily routine. So an important thing is if you want to prioritize it into your life, which it's really important to because we've talked about all the benefits, schedule it as if you would any other appointment. So if you're not going to skip an important meeting, then like allot time for your exercise, even if you like have a calendar that works best for you, write it down, like build a slot into your schedule that works for you so that you can keep yourself accountable for doing that. And what you can do is pair it with things that you already do in your life to kind of make it easier for you to build it into your daily routine. So for example, as Dr. Curnew mentioned, like while you're waiting for your coffee, you can do like push-ups until it's ready. That can be like one thing and an incentive for you to do exercise and then get coffee after. Or while you're watching your favorite TV show, maybe instead of sitting on the bed or on a couch watching it, you can like walk on a treadmill while watching it, or read while riding a stationary bike. Like all of these ways can help to not change your life so much. You're still including things that you love, but you're incorporating exercise within it. And another thing is if you're like at work all day, maybe even just taking like a short break to take a walk outside. Not only can this include like incorporate exercise into your daily life, but it can also help improve focus. Like I notice even when I'm staring at a computer all day, like with schoolwork, just taking like a walk outside can like totally help me refocus and motivate me as well. So it really does help you to be more productive, even though you're taking some time away. And another thing is small amounts of physical activity really do add up. So sometimes if we think, okay, I don't have a whole hour or a whole 30 minutes to do exercise today, and then you just decide, okay, because I don't have that big chunk of time, I won't do anything. But small bits of time throughout our break can add up to a lot throughout the day. And maybe you can't fit 30-minute slot or an hour slot, but you can do little things each day that will add up to that amount. So for example, even just taking a few minutes to walk, as I mentioned, or performing a few minutes or a few repetitions of an exercise. So even what we're doing now with our exercise breaks throughout this video, like if you notice that you're sitting for a long time and you just want to get up and do like a few squats or a few lunges or anything like that, or a few marches, that can help get you moving and still like even stretch your muscles and make you like more mobile. It will really help on the days that you are really busy and maybe can't fit in that longer workout. And the last thing is to keep things interesting. So we talked about variety before, but it's really important to include different types of activities in your exercise plan. And we call that cross training. So examples include, as I mentioned, strength training, also high intensity interval training, walking, biking, swimming, doing sports like squash, or even yoga. And so each like form of exercise has different benefits. That's why they all exist, right? So we can choose the ones that work for us and that we like, and try to have a balance so that we can get all of those benefits. For example, like high intensity interval training that can help with your cardio, and strength training can help with building muscles, but also including yoga, for example, can help keep us mobile and flexible so that we don't get tight when we're older, and we like it's easier for us to like walk around and our joints are not hurting that much. So like incorporating all of those different things are really beneficial. And if we alternate among like different activities, it can also help to work different parts of the bodies and different parts of the body and ensure that we're minimizing a risk of injury or overusing a specific muscle joint or group. So it's good to get the benefits of all those different types of exercise, but also help to reduce overusing or overworking specific parts of the body that are like specific to a one type of exercise. Okay, and so we're gonna move on to our next exercise, which is cross punches. So what you can do is get into kind of like a semi squat, and then we'll just alternate a punch here and a punch there, and really try to give it some force instead of just like flailing around, so that it can work your arms more. So we'll do alternating 10 on each side. So I'll count out loud to make it easier. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Great job, guys.
Yes. Okay, so we're going to be moving on to our next section, which is looking at different tools for exercise planning. So just as an overview, planning is essentially half the battle. Like once you know what you're going to be doing during a workout, less thinking is required, and then you can start focusing on doing the exercise. So nowadays, there's a lot of online tools that can be used to plan and track your workout with technology. So the three that we're going to be focusing on today is ChatGPT, YouTube, and different type of apps. So if we first look at ChatGPT, it's an easy-to-use software that uses artificial intelligence to follow prompts and answer questions. So in this context, we would be using it to create an exercise plan, and it can be used to create and plan out a full workout or list specific exercises that you might want to include. So a sample prompt that we put into just ChatGPT that you could possibly customize if you'd like to. So in this orange box here, we rewrote, I am looking for a new exercise training plan. Some things about me are that I wrote down the current lifestyle, specific fitness goals. It could be such as fat loss, muscle building, etc. The desired time frame, any health considerations, dietary preferences, exercise experience, and weekly time availability, and these kind of details that we included into ChatGPT. And with this information, we ordered ChatGPT to design a tailored fitness program that fits into our life. So if we look at the response, some things to note is that the specifications that we put in was the fact that we were working in an office job, we have left knee pain, we have dietary preferences for balanced meals incorporating vegetables and proteins, and limited to 3 hours a week. So with this, we could see on the image here that they created a response for the first day, including a warm-up, strength training, cardio, and cool down. So this is just the first day workout, but the response actually included enough information for a full 3-month fitness plan. So it's very, very detailed. It gives you what to do every single day, and it's very, very planned out. Moving on, we could also use YouTube as another technological platform for our exercise planning. So YouTube is very popular. A lot of people already use it. And it's an online video platform where you can find a ton of exercise videos to follow. And these can include yoga, the HIIT workouts that we mentioned, strength training, and more. Just to list a few sample channels, there's Yoga with Adriene, and then there's No Bad Addiction. So Yoga with Adriene is a YouTube channel that provides many yoga and meditation videos. And our mission is to connect as many people as possible through high quality free yoga videos. And also they welcome all levels, all bodies, all genders, and all souls. And then No Bad Addiction is another YouTube channel that includes full body high intensity interval training, which was HIIT, cardio workouts, and strength training. And their motto is No Bad Addiction, at No Bad Addiction, where we are committed to creating workouts that will push you to your limits, leaving you feeling stronger, healthier, and more confident. Another platform that we could use is a variety of different apps. So apps can be downloaded on your smartphone, and these often have pre-planned workout plans available, limiting the preparation work that you have to perform. Les Mills provides group exercise classes that you can stream from the app. And 8Fit provides 15 to 20-minute short video, home workouts, and nutrition plans as well. Next, we will discuss some tools for exercise tracking. So tracking exercise can help keep you accountable with your workouts. It allows you to have a record of all the work that you have done. And this can be done manually in a paper notebook or a document, but there's also a lot of different apps that can be used, such as the Nike Run Club, which is a running log, or the Strong Workout Tracker Gym Log, which is a strength log. And with this, you could include details such as the date, the description of your exercise, minutes, sets and reps, and additional notes as well.
So the last exercise we're going to do tonight is jumping jacks. So this is kind of a way to kind of get our heart pumping before we go about with our night. So as you can see in the video, a jumping jack, you just bring your arms up to the top while you bring your legs out, and we're going to do about 10. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Awesome. So that was just a fun little way to kind of end it off, and just some kind of last notes that we wanted to just share with you. Dr. Curnew has a bunch of resources that we can use and that are here to support you and provide you with information. So we have our website here, drcurnewhealth.com. We also have a Wednesday group, which is the Motivation, Mindfulness, and Moving group, or the 3 M's. They meet every Wednesday at 7 p.m. So if you're interested in joining this wonderful group of patients and volunteers, you can sign up through the link, or you can visit and let Dr. Curnew know at your next visit. And then we also have exercise videos, as I mentioned before. If you're looking for warm-ups, cool downs, or different kind of ways to build muscle through body movement exercises, we've got a whole bunch for you, which you can find on our YouTube channel. And then lastly, we do have 3 other exciting projects like the Sugar Club, Weight Loss Club, and Sunday dinners that you can also get involved with at the clinic. So that was all we kind of have for you tonight. And we thank you all for watching and kind of hanging out with us and working out with us throughout the time. If you need to email Dr. Curnew, his email is there, drcurnew232@gmail.com. Again, visit his YouTube channel and check out his website. But that's all, Dr. Curnew. I don't know if you had any last minute notes or anything you wanted to mention.
Wonderful. I think I learned a lot, and I'm learning all the time. And I think most of us undervalue the power of activity. And I think of it in three forms. The most important thing is to start doing something, start walking brisker. So that's one form of activity. And the goal is somewhere between 8 to 12,000 steps a day. Um, then we can add intensity to that, more aerobic activity. So if it's going to be squash, running, biking, exercise, classes, spinning, whatever it's going to do, um, it can start off with brisk walking. There's something I want you to comment about zone two training in a second, if you want to talk about that, if you'd like to. And one of the things, and the third thing is, resistance training. It could be from bands, some weights, carrying groceries. One of the things is, do you want to be at home? So carry 2 bags of groceries, and you want to carry your grandchildren. You will lose muscle mass as you age, so you need to try to help preserve that. Again, half of your horsepower VO2 max is under environmental control. You can actually change that. You can actually increase that by 50%. Can't change my genes, but I can change how my gene interaction. So I'm pretty excited about all this, and I'm really enjoying it. So celebrate your victories there. Do you have a comment about zone two training at all?
I'm not quite familiar with
Yeah.
it, but let
Okay.
me just look it up. I might.
Okay, so you can look that up, but zone two training is basically training at a training heart rate, and you want to keep that. So one of the things that many of us do go from first to fifth gear, but to train your VO2 max, people say you have to be consistent in that training effect for about 60 minutes. I don't think it's that overly that important, to be honest with you. I think just basically getting out movement and enjoying the movement. And one of the leading ways of preventing Alzheimer's disease is simply just walking. And then um, I think I learned a lot. I'm going to try to set some behaviors, and it reminds me about one of these expert physiologists is to basically what he does is he turns on the coffee machine and does his his ah what did I say? Not sit-ups, but his pull-ups. Anyways, those are things we can all learn to do better. So, Amir, what are you going to do?
I think I've got to go to the gym more, do more cardio, do more resistance training. It's really interesting how we can use a lot of technology like ChatGPT to come up with exercise plans. That's a really creative way to use this, and those YouTube channels look great. And these apps like 8Fit and Liz Mills, that's awesome. I think I learned a lot as well about the fit principles, and keeping yourself accountable, balancing the types of exercises you're doing. And yeah, I gotta go to the gym more, do more lifting, do more cardio. Yeah.
Perfect. Now, some people say they do things at home. I find that doing things at home is nice, but I need the company and the motivation of others to do things. But everybody's a little bit different. I'm certainly working at it and enjoying the process. So I want to wish everybody just a happy festive holiday season. And the power of exercise, the power of this is just tremendous. It's again the benefits from cancer to eating more to less diabetes. Remember, if you're starting to develop metabolic syndrome, diabetes and resistance, the best way to suck blood sugar out of your blood is through muscle. It's a great way. Muscle's like sugar, and just think about how you're going to create more muscle and get your muscle stronger. So I think we'll end with this and thank everybody and happy holiday season. And it's one I hope you look at many times and thank you so much. The team did a fantastic job. I really appreciate all their hard work and thank you so much.